There's a lot of topics to cover within the breast cancer community. In A Beautiful Self, we bring in the experts to inform, to take your questions, and to inspire.
Tune in Tuesdays at 12 on Facebook and Instagram Live to join the conversation.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm Jen Rozenbaum, and I can't wait to talk to you about finding your sexy.
See you there.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to Tip Tuesday. It's Jillian
And Michelle.
and
Jen.
yay, we're so excited. So listen, we are just beyond thrilled today to have Jen Rozenbaum with us. First of all, there's so much to say, but Jen is a breast cancer survivor. She is a mom. She is a spectacular, off the Richter scales. People come in from all over to shoot with her. Boudoir photographer. She is an author and the founder of the Shamelessly Feminine Movement, which is a podcast, which is on her website. She is a beacon of light in the breast cancer community to assist us to see ourselves as sexy. And that is what we are all about, A Beautiful Self. And by some chance, if you haven't seen her work, which I doubt you haven't, but if you haven't, you must go to her social pages, her website. We will put that all up for you. And before we get to asking Jen questions, and please drop your comments, drop your questions, I just have to ask Michelle if we have any housekeeping to do.
Actually, we do. We have big housekeeping today, Jill, because we are running the Sexiest Beauty promotion. You might have seen Heather on last week. And with any $35 purchase from the Sexiest Beauty, $10 is donated to Beautiful Self. And that's what we get. Thank you so much, Heather. But what you get is 10% off the entire Sexiest Beauty website. You get a free gift and you get free shipping. And then there's also a grand prize that's going to be announced at the end of the month. I think it's for a 4-piece set of the Rose Glow collection. And then we also have to announce the 3 winners from the lipstick contest from last week. So if everybody out there is listening, the 3 winners are Janelle Smith, Marianne Zapati Patterson, and Kathy Grigoli. So ladies, if you can DM us with your address, we will pass it on to Heather, and of course your color preference as well. Your lips are going to love it. Love it. So without further ado, I'm going to put this over back to Jill.
Are we ready?
I think we're ready.
All right, let's ask Jen.
Yes.
All right, Jen. We got so many questions. So let's start by I want everyone to kind of understand your journey. So you're an uber talented, coveted boudoir photographer. So I want to know first about your journey to discovering the passion for that.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you thinking so.
Yes, you are.
That makes one of us. No, I'm kidding. That's like an artist curse, right? We always are like, oh, I'm not that good. Don't say that. But thank you. I will accept the love and the compliment. So I'm going to make my story super short. It's on my website if somebody wants the extended version. But essentially in 2008, I was a stay-at-home mom. And I had a daughter at the time, and I was trying to have another baby, and I had a lot of complications. I had a lot of fertility issues. I lost a few pregnancies. I had surgeries, and it was just a lot of stuff going on at the time. And basically what I did was I picked up my camera as a distraction to what was going on, because I felt that it was a very sad time for me. And I was really surrounded by a lot of people who were having babies, and there were parties, and, it was like just a reminder after a reminder that I was struggling with that. And it really made me question my femininity. It made me wonder, if I can't protect babies in my own body, who am I? What kind of woman am I? It's one thing to protect them out in the world, another thing to protect them, in your womb. So it was just a very hard time. So what I decided to do is pick up the camera, teach myself photography as a distraction to what was going on in my life. And I had no idea that it was going to turn into something way bigger. But essentially a few months after I want to say taught myself photography, because I'm still learning. It's like an ongoing process. I had no idea what a process it was. But essentially somebody asked me to assist them on a boudoir shoot that they were shooting. And I was like, sure, why not? I'll get out of the house. It'll be great. And I went and I just fell in love. And I decided to turn my bedroom into a studio and my basement into an office. And 48 hours later, I had a website up. I called my best friend. I said, if you love me, you'll take your clothes off for me. We took pictures. Good thing she loves me. We took pictures, and then I put up a website, and that was it. And it's, although it sounds like it's very much about the photography, what was interesting back then was that when I had my miscarriage specifically, people knew I was pregnant. I'm a smaller person. I was showing it. There really wasn't a secret that I was pregnant. So when I had my miscarriage, I started hearing a lot of things from my friends, close friends. Me too. I had 3 miscarriages. I was like, what? How do I not know this? Like, we're close. Why wouldn't you tell me? And I started to learn that women are really taught to be quiet. And like, I don't get that, because that's the period of time, they say, don't tell anybody you're pregnant, because if something happens, well, that's the time you need the support the most, right? So I started becoming a little bit more vocal about my journey. And that's really when the mission behind the photography opened up to me. And I realized it was about connecting women and having women celebrate their femininity shamelessly, and giving people a space where they can just be who they are without any questions.
I love that. And I want to move on to your breast cancer journey, but it's interesting because and just to share with you personally, I couldn't have children, but I was okay with that. But yet there was a lot of pressure in a certain age frame. Now I'm in my late 50s, so don't nobody ask. But at the time, people like, so yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
for 1 second. Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh, which
that you're in your late 50s?
Oh, you're so kind. That's Leo love. Just everyone know, Jen's a Leo. I'm a Leo.
That is Leo shock right there.
No.
We need to discuss that after this. Okay, go ahead.
You are so sweet. Thank you. I love Leo love. But it was really, for a short period of time, I felt a little odd about, how does this define me? Because I felt like everyone was throwing that on me, because I didn't get married till late in life. And they were like, well, and I'm like, well, what? So I appreciate that. So thank you. That's amazing that you shared that. And you're getting a lot of love in the chat, of course, lots of hearts. So now let me move forward so everyone can kind of take us to now. And especially, I think this is how we connect too. In 2017, you were diagnosed with stage 2B breast cancer. Okay. Same. I had stage 2B. 2 weeks later, you had 2 weeks later, and that's pretty crazy, a bilateral mastectomy, 8 rounds of chemo, and four reconstructive surgeries. And by the way, to anyone out there who doesn't understand reconstructive surgeries, it's not like you're in and out. These things are horrific and they take so much out of your body. You have no idea. Number one, how are you feeling these days?
I'm great. Thank you for asking.
Good.
My last reconstruction surgery was just back in December. So I'm not that far out from surgery. But I feel great. I'm finally where I should be. And look, right now I'm working on getting my body back to where I believe it can be. I've sort of taken expectations off of where it should be, or getting it to where I wanted it to be before cancer, and just trying to find my new normal, and medical menopause and post surgery and post chemo, and the last 4 years have been a lot. So but I feel good. I feel very hopeful about what the next few months and few years at least bring for me.
That's awesome. Well, you look amazing and you're glowing and just so naturally shiny. We love it. So I want to kind of connect the two, because really, so Michelle and I have been like sisters since the 80s, right? So, and Michelle was a model and then a photographer, and I've always been kind of this beauty expert, media spokesperson, kind of out there in the front. And really my life in survivorship and the trauma of accepting physically and mentally how everything changed, right? That really shifted what Michelle and our original mission for Beautiful Self was. We never expected it, but it was through this kind of long after process. So we brought our industry talent together, right? As beauty expert, photographer, to create a space where you could learn to see yourself as beautiful, right? That whole vibe. So did your journey with breast cancer, because I know your journey with pregnancy changed things, but did your journey with breast cancer change things for you with your photography?
1000%. The the foundation was already built, where I was connecting with women. And I remember, and Jill, I get the feeling you're going to understand this because I feel like we're connected in this way. Right before I was diagnosed with cancer, I remember laying awake at night. I was in this lull in my business, and I just was like trying to manifest and speak to the universe and just say, how can I reach more women? Please help me reach more women. How can I expand my reach? It wasn't about, how do I make my business better? How do I make more money? It was, what else can I do? Okay, I need to see the way. What else can I do? And then I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, thank you for the answer.
Right. Excuse me. That's not quite what I meant. All right. But here's the thing. I had to come to terms with the fact that that's what was handed to me. So I had a choice in that moment. Is this happening to me or happening for me? And I decided that it was happening for me. And it was part of my purpose. And that everything that I had learned photography wise and about women was leading up to this moment. So, I after I told everybody that was close in my life about my cancer diagnosis, I went to my parents, who are kind of conservative and quiet and the opposite of me. And, I said to them, listen, I just want you to know that I'm going to be very public about this starting like today, because there's a reason why this is happening. And if I can save other women's lives, then I need to do it. And that's what I thought the purpose was in the beginning. What I realize now is it's not just about helping women save their lives. What it's about is normalizing breast cancer bodies. Because when I was faced with the mastectomy, I started Googling, like everybody does, before and after, post-mastectomy bodies, mastectomy surgery, breast reconstruction. And I was horrified with what I saw. It was horrible. And so I said to myself, you know what? I now have this chest, this post-mastectomy chest. I have a camera, and I'm not afraid to show it. So I remember my mom said to me, do me a favor. After this is all done, don't go showing your boobies all over the internet. And I was like, yeah, you don't know me very well, do you? And that's my purpose. And so I have to believe it was given to me for a purpose. And now most of my business, just as my business in the beginning was a lot of women that had fertility issues, then it became women that were turning 40, like I was turning 40, that now a lot of my clients, a majority of my clients are breast cancer patients and survivors.
That's so amazing. And I think it's just, I think in a way, we just need it more. And I think for a lot of women, and I want to ask you about this shamelessly feminine and what that means to you. But Michelle and I always talk about how we deal anyway with the demons of aging, right? Now, cancer and breast cancer, and even ovarian cancers, the ones that attack the feminine psyche the most and the feminine body, they accelerate that. I mean, you're like, boom, you could be thin and juicy and plump, and the next day you have a menopausal belly, your skin is dry, everything's sagging, and you're literally 28 years older looking than you should be. And that is a mind F. It's such a mind F. So let me ask you what being shamelessly feminine means to you and what's it about? Because I know that's an important part of what you do.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that, by the way, because I feel like every time I tell someone that I feel like I aged 100 years in this journey, they're like, what are you talking about? You look so young, you look so beautiful. And I see you that way, and
So sweet.
But it is real. It is so real. It's really about what you feel like, right? Not just what you look like. So thank you for acknowledging that. So shamelessly feminine, my tagline for my business is that I believe that women should celebrate their unique femininity shamelessly. And that's where shamelessly feminine came from, to just really be who you are, regardless of what society says, regardless of what you were raised to believe, and really pushing the boundaries on that and giving women a safe space for that. But it's gone even further since I was diagnosed with cancer. I have a whole chapter in my book about femininity and it's a combination of what we're talking about with shamelessly feminine and aging and your body changing through cancer. And I had to get real about what is femininity to me. Same thing as when I was having fertility issues. Am I not feminine? Am I not a good mom? Am I not, because I'm struggling with this? So when I lost my breasts, I had to say to myself, which by the way, I loved my breasts. Like, it was actually the one part of my body that I never really had beef with, So I was kind of like, really, like, all things. Even though they weren't what they once were and whatnot, it didn't matter to me. It was like, no, I held a lot of my feminine energy, my sexuality, my sensuality in my chest. So when I lost my chest, I had to say, well, what is feminine really? And I talk about in the book that I sat down and I started writing all of the different traits about women that I admired, either in my life or in the world, and what made them feminine to me. And what I realized was when I made this list, and it was a long list, there was not one physical attribute on the list at all. I don't love somebody because she's pretty. I don't love somebody because she's got a great chest. I love somebody because they're doing amazing things in the world, or they're brave, or they're pushing boundaries, or do you know what I'm saying? So I had to restructure for me what shamelessly feminine really means. And ironically, even though I photograph bodies, it has nothing to do with the body. It's all about the attitude.
It's the energy and the confidence, and right. Yeah, it's so true. And I think what I just want to be very clear, because when this video goes out and maybe people in the non-breast cancer community watch it, what they don't understand is it's not just the loss of breast. It's so complicated. It's all the changes of the long-term drugs and the sudden shift in your body and your mind. And you just don't, and I know all of a lot of our beautiful self tribe watches, and they get it. You just don't feel sexy, you don't feel feminine. So which kind of leads me to, I want to go back now to your images that you were just talking about. They're so sexy, they're so feminine. And I'm sure that these women that walk in, because we get the same thing, they're like, no, like they come in with body issues. Probably even your non-survivors come in with body issues. So how do you get someone to take that first step in doing a boudoir shot with you? Because it's such a vulnerable thing.
Yeah. Sometimes actually the women that come in that are survivors have less inhibitions because we're so used to being in front of doctors and being canceled and having, we're like, here, let me just take a picture for you. Let me show you.
You mean like when my dentist said, put your shirt back on?
It's amazing. Yeah, okay. Like I don't even put a robe on. My plastic surgeon, I'm like, why do we bother? Just, let's go. So in some ways they have less inhibitions. But yeah, so I believe for me, Jill, that really starts with my social media and my vulnerability in my own work and showing myself and building trust with my clients so that they know that even though they're going to be nervous, because they will be, and I'll talk about why I think that's important in a second, that even though that they're going to be nervous, that they're in good hands and they're with somebody who's been through it too and walks the walk. I mean, there is nothing that annoys me more than a boudoir photographer who's like, oh, I would never have my picture taken. Like, what? You can't do that. That's like not going to work, and what was the thing I see? Chemo brain. Ready? What was the thing I just?
Yeah. So how do you get someone to know? I get it. Chemo brain's very real. Years later, even by the way, 7 years out, and I'm still have chemo brain. I'm lucky I have notes, or I'd be like, wait, what I said? So what I said was asked, how do you get someone to take the first step? Because it is so vulnerable, and I'm sure they have images in their head and they're afraid of how they're going to look versus how they do look, and like how do you get them to say you can do this when they walk in the door? How do you get them
talk about the nerves? So what you just reminded me, thank you. So the thing is about everybody's nervous, and I want people to accept the fact that they're going to be nervous. And I compare it to skydiving, right? I don't know if you've ever been skydiving. I have never been skydiving, and I won't because I worked way too hard to save
my life. Girl, no.
but here's the thing about skydiving. Why do people do it? They don't do it because they want to jump out of a plane. Nobody really wants to jump out of a plane. They do it to go out of their comfort zone and say, well, if I can jump out of a plane, if I could find enough nerves and enough gumption to jump out of a plane, I could do anything, right? And that's part of what boudoir photography is like too. You should be nervous. You should feel like it's a risk because that means you're out of your comfort zone and that's where the growth happens. So you have to just be open to the experience. And I think that just there comes a point in a woman's life, like I think a lot of women want to do it. They're just not ready yet. They're not ready yet. And then something will happen. It'll be a divorce, a baby, a kid moving out. It'll be a wedding, breast cancer, a surgery. I cut my hair. I broke up with my boyfriend, whatever. Came out of the closet. I don't care what they do. Something will happen that's all of a sudden they'll be like, all right, now's the time. I'm ready for this. It doesn't mean that they're not nervous. Doesn't mean that they walk in and go, okay, let's get it up. They're nervous and that's okay, but they're ready for change.
I love that. And so I would love to know on your end, what are some things that survivors say? Because we get stuff. So at Beautiful Self, we don't see people in active treatment because we feel there's tons of support and that's not always where you really need it. Where you need it is years out when you're adjusted and settled in, right? So we hear things like, well, my hair is only to my chin, or it's too curly still, or I gained 60 pounds from tamoxifen. I'm not ready. I'm like, you're never going to be ready. Never ready, right? You just like you said, you have to kind of jump in. It's like skydiving. So my question to you is, what are some of the common things that you hear of why they can't do a boudoir shoot? And then how do you respond to someone who thinks that altered state isn't sexy all of a sudden?
Yeah, I have to lose 10 pounds is the most common thing. And it's the thing that drives me the most crazy, to be honest with you, because 10 pounds is nothing. First of all, I am a posing master, and between posing and wardrobe and lighting, you're going to look amazing. Like, you don't even have to worry about that, because chances are you already do look amazing. You just might see yourself differently. I mean, here's the thing. How many times, and this is, I think, especially true with survivors, do you look back at a picture of yourself before cancer, especially, and you're like, man, I wish I was as fat as I was back then, you know?
Yes.
I thought I was back then. Just today, I was looking at a picture from, I don't know, 10 years ago, and I was like, oh, why didn't I wear the bikini? Why didn't I like flaunt my body? Like, look at my body. What's wrong with me? And then I have moments where I think to myself, you know what? I'm going to think that about today too, at some point in the future. Maybe my body isn't really where I want it to be right now, but it doesn't mean that it's in such a bad place. And even if I weighed 50 pounds more or 100 pounds more, what is wrong with just sort of saying, this is where I'm at right now. I want to own this. It doesn't mean it's permanent. It doesn't mean you can't make a change and do another shoot in the future. But we do need to find some acceptance for our body. And it's easy for me to say, I struggle with it also. Okay, there are days where I'm like, I look amazing and I'm so happy. And there's other days where I'm like, I just want to put on a baggy sweatshirt and sweatpants and just hide from everybody.
Yeah.
It's normal. It's normal. But we will look back one day and say, man, I wish I would have appreciated my body back then. And people say, you know, what's going to happen if I do this and my kids find this when I die and they like clean out my house? And I'm like, good. They should be like, look at how hot my mom was.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that. I love that you say that, because I personally grapple with that. I'm that person that's like, no, you know, and then Michelle we laugh because we look back at pictures from 30 years ago or 20 years ago, and I'm like, I remember that day. I felt so not confident going out with you, because Michelle's 5'8", you know, tall, lean, long hair. I've always struggled with my hair, this, that. And I look back now and I'm like, damn girl, you were so cute. What was your problem?
It's cute.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like, you know, this is what is so beautiful about boudoir photography for me. I'm sorry, the mailman must be here or something.
That's okay.
Crazy. This is what's so amazing about this, right? I look at both of you, and you couldn't be more different, right? And yet both so stunningly gorgeous and unique in style. And I look at you and I'm like, I want to be like that. Like, I want to have that confidence. I want to have, right? But then I'm reminded that when like I'm photographing somebody, that I have certain qualities that make me that way also. And somebody might look at me like that. And that's like the beautiful exchange of energy, you know, especially when I work with survivors and cancer patients, where I'm like, man, they are so strong. They're so fascinating. And I just want to like be that way. And then, you know, people say to me, well, wait a minute, to me, you're like that. Like, oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you for the reminder. You know, we're so quick to look at other people's beauty and strength and just forget our own. And it's so unfortunate.
It's true. And thank you. That's so well said. So I want to get down to some tactical stuff, because I love your photography. It's just so sexy. So let's do this. Number one, love your bum shots. Okay. The bum shots are everything. As someone who has a big round butt, those bum shots to me are everything. So how do you make everyone that walks in, their bum look so round and delicious?
Yeah, well, it is Tuesday. It's Tushy Tuesday. So
there you go.
Apropos. So there's a couple of little tricks with that. The first thing is that when you are photographing somebody's bottom side, you always want to make sure that their weight is toward the camera instead of away from the camera. So they want to sort of push their booty out from the way. Let's see if I can show you guys. So instead, I wasn't planning on this. All right, let's see. So for example, this is away from the camera, and although it's very flattering in general, if you want to make the booty look good, kind of, right? We have to turn it a little bit. We got to stick it out. And you have to really, from the waist down, be pushing your booty out as well. It's a little easier for me. I have many years of practice. But for photographers, by the way, you need to make sure you're at the right angle. So oftentimes I find that photographers really kind of shoot from high up. I'm only 5'2", so maybe it's a little easier for me. But if a photographer is taller, they're really missing the mark. You have to like kind of get down, get the right angle, have them push toward the camera. You know, that's the beauty of being a photographer. We're really the eyes of our camera, and we have to manipulate the body to say, okay, camera, this is what I want you to see. So it's just posing manipulation, really. Good lighting and lots of booty sticking out.
I love that. It's funny, you know, because when I watch Michelle work, I love watching her work too. She'll turn the camera and she'll be like, see what I see. And it's mind blowing. It's, right. You know, she's like, this is what I see. Okay. So now let's say we're home and we're thinking about it. And we're like, all right, I want to have a shoot with Jen, but I'm very nervous. So let me get in the mood. food. What are some practical tips, like you gave us that booty pop, that a survivor could practice with their own camera to start to feel sexy, to gain a little confidence?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that people need to do with their own camera at home is to make sure they have good lighting. That's like the biggest mistake, where people take a picture with their cell phone, especially, and it's crappy lighting, and they'll send me a picture and they'll say, "Is this really what I look like?" I'm like, "No, it's crappy lighting." And with your phone, you don't really get the right perspective, right? Like when we use lenses in photography, they can distort somebody or not distort somebody, and we can use it to our advantage, and so with a camera on your phone, for example, if you're like super really close in, you're going to be very distorted. It's not really going to look quite that way. So one of the things I would say is just make sure you have good lighting. If you have a nice big window, use something like that. Just practice with that, and just what else? I just want to say to people, like, don't be afraid. And if you see, I mean, I take pictures of myself all the time. I probably dump 90% of them.
Yeah.
I just choose to believe that the good ones are what I really look like.
That's right.
That's it.
Well said.
Get in your head about that instead of like being like, oh, I'm not photogenic, and just have fun with it.
Oh, I love it. Interesting, before I ask you about your book and we close out, Elisa is with us, and Elisa is one of our gorgeous metastatic gals. And she just said she was thinking about doing a boudoir session, but the bald head is holding her back. Now, when you're metastatic, you go through these extended periods of being bald, and she is gorgeous. So I know what I would say, but what would you say to someone who goes, I'm bald, I don't want to do it?
Yeah, well, I would say, first of all, if she wants to come see me, then we'll do a session with her bald. She can put a wig on, she can put a cover on, whatever. We could do all of it. And then one day in the future, when her hair grows in and she's more comfortable, we could do it again. But I don't know. This might just be me. I took so many pictures during my journey that were not ideally what I wanted to look like. Okay. But I am so stinking proud of them. And I look back and it helps me jog my memory. Just like you were talking about pictures with Michelle when you guys were younger. You know how you could like see a certain picture, you remember exactly what you were feeling, or you can see an outfit and go, I remember I felt fat that day, or I felt ugly that day, or that. It's the same thing with me. I mean, I went in, I would like take a picture of the chemo chair, or I took a picture of an IV, needle or whatever, because I wanted to, it was so vitally important for me to remember what I went through, because sometimes we lose sight of it, right? It's easy to fall back into like just thinking every day is Groundhog Day and life will go on forever. And sometimes we need a little reminder of what we went through to remember how badass we are. So that's what I would tell her.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Okay. Lots of hearts. And then I love authors. I'm so excited. Like if you looked at my Instagram, you'll see it's mostly all authors. Like I love people that can write. So tell us
if I'm one of those, but, but I did write something.
Yeah, come on. You did. You're an author. You're legit. So your book is called What the F Just Happened. You can get it on Amazon, A Survivor's Guide to, right? On Amazon.
I don't know why it says pre-order. It's actually out.
It's out. Okay. Yeah. Anywhere else besides Amazon?
Yeah, well, Amazon. So it's a real book. They can get it on Amazon, and also if they want a signed copy, then they can go to my Instagram. Just contact me. I'll send them the URL. If it's not in my link tree, it should be in my link tree.
And is it just about life after breast cancer?
I love the title. I love the title.
Thank you. Thank you. I debated the title for a long time. It had like 100 different titles before that. And then I just didn't feel right. And then I just sat down. I was like, what would I say if I had a moment of like thinking back to my, time during treatment and whatnot? What I would say is like, what the F just happened? I was like, I'm going to call it that, because that's really what it is. And, Jill, just like you mentioned that you guys support women after their cancer journey, that's exactly what this was. What I found was when I was going through treatment, there was so much support, so much love, and honestly, so much survival mode in your own body and mind that you're like, I'm a warrior. I got this. I can handle this. Yeah, bring on the surgery. Put that chemo right in my vein, baby. I got it. Like I'm powerful. I'm strong. And then what happened was I finished chemo December 27th, 2017. It was like very important date for me because I had to make sure it was done in the year 2017. Like it could not carry over to 2018, because 2018 was going to be my year. I was going to get myself back together. Everything was going to be great. And then to be perfectly frank, and it's hard to talk about, but I talk about it in the book. I'm not ashamed of talking about it. About 3 weeks later, I called my doctor and I said, I think I'm going to commit suicide. And it crashed for me really hard, really fast. And what happened was, when you're done with treatment, everybody scatters, they move on to the next crisis. And, you're set to face your life. And especially, I think a woman in her 40s who has kids and parents, and you're maybe a wife or a partner or, whatever you might be, everybody says, okay, you're good now, right? Get back to life.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I'm good. And then when you say to somebody, no, I'm not great, they go, what do you mean? Just be happy you're alive. Like, you should be grateful you're alive. So now you're like, oh, you should dump shame on me too, on top of everything else that I'm dealing with. But you don't really realize it at the time. So it took me a good year to even realize that I wasn't really in a great place, and understanding that, like, wait, maybe more people go through this. It's not just me. And then in early 2019, I said, again, this is my year, right? Like, I'm going to get myself together. And then January 4th, 2019, my father was diagnosed with cancer. And it was, thank God now he's okay, but it was a tidal wave of PTSD. I was still in my journeys. I was still having surgery. We were treated at the same place. Some days I would say, okay, Dad, stay here. I'll be back. I'm going to go to my appointment. I'll come back for you. And, it was a lot, where I say my cancer really affected me. His threw me over the edge, and again, trying to find my place in my life. Like, things that were important were so much more important. Things that were less important didn't even matter to me anymore. I had no patience for people's baloney. I was questioning everything. Is this what I want to do for work? Is this really where I want to live? Do I even want to be married anymore? I filed for divorce 5 months ago. I'm still cleaning up my life, so for me, the book supports that. How do you find your femininity again? How do you clean up your life? How do you grieve? How do you go through the mourning process? How do you find joy? Like, now all the time I say to people, I'm just a seeker of joy. Life is too short not to be, even during the pandemic, even during everything that we've gone through. What can I do that will bring me happiness every single day, even if it's just this much? And it's not to say I don't have hard days. I have really hard days still. But I just think the perspective shift, and just letting people know that when you're done with treatment, you are not done, and it is okay to not be done, and you have support in that.
Well, thank you for encapsulating that, because I think that is what I would say almost all survivors feel: the suicidal thoughts, the depression, the it's not okay, I have to find my feminine. And you just said that in such a powerful little compacted, giving yourself to us and sharing yourself with us. So thank you for that. Thank you for being an incredible guest. You are just a ray of light. And I want everybody, if you haven't seen her work, which I'm sure you have, but go look at the website. I think you're amazing. One day, you know what? I would love to have a boudoir shot with you. Okay. Leo to Leo. And thank you again for being here. And Michelle, anything to add before we go?
Nothing. I would love to have you come into our studio and be a guest photographer for a session or something, because I'd love to work with you for sure.
That would be
we would have a whole perspective. Yeah, absolutely.
You two together would be amazing. Oh my God.
You're inspirational.
Awesome. So as always, everyone, stay strong, stay positive. You are beautiful. And we will see you next week. Jen, I hope we see you again. I hope this is the beginning of something beautiful for us. And thank you for being here today.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me, and everybody who watched. I appreciate you.
You're the best.
Bye.
Bye.